Hello, welcome back to All For United WSC. You notice there's only two of us at the moment. Barry should be on his way. Technical issue. We've all had technical issues this week. I'm starting to think it's StreamYard just not wanting us to do videos, but there we go. But as you can see, I've got Liberty with me to offer. We always say this, the neutral stance, or the kind of to offer the balance of the conversation is the best way I like to put it, because as obviously we're all United fans on here. We're all going to come on here, say we're going to win, we're going to do all of this kind of thing. So it's nice to have a voice of reason, maybe, that's going to offer that neutral balance. So Liberty, thanks for coming on. How are you doing over
there? Thank you for having me. I'm very good, thank you. This is actually my second favourite fixture in the footballing calendar. Obviously, after the North London derby, it goes North London derby, Manchester derby, then El Clasico. So I'm quite excited to talk about it because, I always look forward to it. I'm quite excited.
I'll take that, to be fair. Second best derby. I'm quite happy with that. So as you're all here, obviously get your thoughts, your comments, and everything else as we go through it. We're going to talk, as we used to do on the previous talk about the derby. We've got to talk about some Marc Skinner quotes as well, because he did say some interesting things today, which people have obviously picked up on. But before we get into all of that, though, and obviously, hopefully Barry will be with us shortly, I will just obviously quickly say from the start that obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to Jason and her family, obviously with the sad sudden passing of her brother in the last couple of days as well. Obviously, she is going to be unavailable for this weekend. I'm not entirely sure how long she's away for. If I'm being totally honest, I hope it's for a while. Or not a while, but a couple of weeks, because I can't imagine that pain she's going through right now. So obviously all of our thoughts and prayers here go out to her, because I imagine it's a very difficult time for her out there, obviously flying back to Brazil on that one. Right in time for the start of the show, I believe Barry is back. But whether he's back, I don't know. Let's find out.
Am I live?
I believe so.
There we go. Look at that. It's a wonderful thing. You can hear me. I'm moving lovely. I'm not jerky. And I've got no idea what the question is. So I'm just going to say, oi, oi, how you doing?
Yes, all good, all good. Just done all the intros. We've done all of that. Highland's talking about at least he can't lecture you about timekeeping. Yes, exactly. It wasn't. To be fair, Barry was actually on time, but we had to kick him out.
I will quote, Liberty actually said, I can hear him, and Connor went, you should go away. So I did. That's exact. I'm not having that. I was bang on time.
It was, to be fair, but it was about 10 seconds out of sync, so that's why we did that. But there we go. But yeah, right, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the game, as we always do on these things, just the feelings ahead of it. So Barry, we'll just start with you from a United point of view, and just how you're feeling going into this one, because there is a sense of optimism, I think is probably the right word for it, that this probably feels the best chance United have had to win away at City with their injuries, obviously with Greenwood, Hemp. Don't know about Shaw, to be honest. I've not looked on that one, but big players missing for them. Barry, how are you feeling going into this one?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I kind of feel a little bit of everything you've just said there. I feel positive, of course, because we'd be mad not to be too positive. I mean, we've only really lost one game this season. We've got the best defensive record in the league. There's so many positives. Ella Toon's just come back and she looks like she's bang on form. So there's a million and one things that we can be positive about. But at the back of my mind, I'm still sitting here and thinking we only managed to beat West Brom 1-0 in 77 minutes. And then it took those substitutions. So I kind of sit there and I'm currently on the fence. It kind of depends which Manchester United turn up. If it's the Man United that's ready to play football and that is going to play the occasion, play the team, not the occasion, then I reckon we're in with a very good shout. But exactly that, Ema, cautious optimism, massively so. And I think that's probably the right way to be. You know, City are second in the league. They've done pretty well themselves this season, but with no Bunny Shaw, that's a massive loss for them, you know. So it's not by no means the only place where they're going to score goals from. They've got plenty of them. But absolutely, I think on paper, it should be a good match for us to watch. But as we all know, football is not played on paper. And so we shall see.
I think you summed it up pretty well. Me and Liberty were talking about this before we went live. That I'm kind of like, I don't know what United to expect, because we've had good moments this season where I'm like, this team is very good, but then we've also had Villa, for example, and like you said, first 60-odd minutes against West Brom, where it's like very slow and very like, we can't do that in a game like this because we'll get torn apart. We were slow in the derby last season, getting up and running, and look how that went. Liberty, you said this is your second favourite derby. So looking at it from your point of view, what are you, I guess, feeling or thinking ahead of it before we get into some specifics and a couple of players? We've already mentioned a couple of the City players that are out there as well, so they've got some big injuries at the moment. What's your kind of initial thoughts looking at
it? Yeah, so it is my second favourite derby. I feel like my first is like quite biased, so it's not really anything to go by. But I think that from a United point of view, I think this is the best chance for a win at City away. Like, I think that the first WSL game back of the new year is always a game that has it's uncharted territory, I always think, because the last WSL game of 2024 feels like forever ago. And then you have that FA Cup round that I don't really think you can ever really go off of, especially with the opponents United and City had. I don't think it's very fair, unfortunately, because of sort of what leagues they sit in and what the outcomes were. So I feel like this is like the first real, I don't want to say real proper game of 2025, but you kind of know what I mean. So I feel like for United, this is a chance that I would be kind of grabbing this with both hands and going, this is our chance. I think probably look back at City's Everton game from the end of 2024 and you go, that was a really good result for Everton, obviously. And I think, look, if you can do that to City on Sunday, then you've got your first win at the Etihad, which I think sometimes is sort of a mental barrier when you go into a derby, especially, and you've not won there away, or you've not done certain things, that it can be like, oh, when are we going to do it? When is going to be that moment? And look, I think that moment's now for United. I think if not now, when? But yeah, I would be optimistic if I was Manchester United right now, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Marc Skinner was asked about that actually in the press conference earlier about, is it a mental thing now going away to City? Because really, I think our best chance was in the 22-23 season where we went 1-0 up, going into half time. And we obviously, to be fair, I think, a lot of fans were disappointed we didn't come away with a win there, because we ended up drawing that one all. Last season was just a bit of a write-off. We were out of that game. I know we scored pretty late on, wasn't it? But 3-0 down, City just stopped playing then, at that point. So there has been some disappointing ones there. But I think although we've never won away there, I've never felt like, last season aside, I've never felt like we've been absolutely battered every time we've gone. Albeit not all of them were at the Etihad. Some of them were at the Joey Stadium as well. And so I don't believe, I've not seen Gareth Taylor's press conference, so I don't actually know for a fact, but I'm assuming they're not, because Liberty's shaking her head.
No. Hemp is definitely not back. And he said that his words were imminent, but this game is too soon. So maybe the midweek game going into next weekend, but definitely she won't be playing on Sunday, no.
See, I think that's obviously what it is. It's a massive loss. Those are two players actually that cause us the most issues when we've played against them in the last couple of seasons. It's been those two that I think Bunny Shaw is the highest scorer against us, in this fixture as well. So yeah, it's a big loss. I want to come back to you, Liberty, actually, in terms of a player that is coming back though, and I want to throw this to United point of view in a second. But Miedema is a player that's obviously coming back into the side. Played last weekend, I believe. Well, she scored, didn't she? On her return last weekend against Ipswich. How big of an impact do you think that's going to have on the City team? Do you see her starting in this one? And if she's starting, where? I imagine with no Bunny Shaw, if she would start, she would start as the 9. But how big of an impact do you think that will make on this City team?
I mean, it is a big impact, because without Shaw and without Miedema, they don't have a natural number 9. And we've seen that when they didn't have both of them at the end of 2024, it really affected them, because they really struggled. They tried to fit players into the 9. It was Mary Fowler, and I think Chloe Kelly at one point, but it was more of a substitute appearance. But they tried to fill it, and it just didn't work, and it wasn't anywhere near the levels that especially Shaw brings this City side. I doubt if Miedemar starts, she doesn't play a full 90, and I wonder if he'll bring her on instead for sort of a impact sub, finish the game out kind of situation. But it is a big boost for them because they have a 9 back, and she will play as the 9 without Shaw. But yeah, I don't think she's fit for a full 90. So I feel like that's the moment for United to go. They don't have a natural 9. They don't have Hemp. It's an 11 or a team for City that is sort of all over the place still. That if you do that, if you can get ahead without especially a number 9 for them, then you can sort of see the game out more than anything. But yeah, I don't think she'll play. I don't imagine she'll be ready to play a full 90 yet. She was away for quite a while, and even, I mean, her last full 90 was Barcelona at home, and that was she was playing midfield, but I wasn't particularly certain that she should be playing a full 90 even back then. So yeah, I definitely don't think she'll be playing a full 90, and it will 100% be as a number 9. And if it's not, then I start to wonder what Gareth Taylor's doing, because that's just a bit ludicrous. If you've got no Shaw, why aren't you playing Miedemar as a 9?
Well, that was the big question over the summer when Miedemar was signing for City, where she's going to play. You know, when you've got arguably the best striker, and obviously Bunny Shaw in the last couple of seasons, you know, up top as well. I want to come back to City in just a second, but Barry, a player that is coming back for us, Mark confirmed earlier that, well, 2 players that are back in contention is Grace Clinton and Simi Awujo. They're both back, obviously, after missing West Brom. I want to focus on Grace because I feel like she's the more likely one to start, if any, out of the 2. What would you be doing with that situation? Because it's obviously, she's only missed 1 game. You know, I think she's played every WSL game for us. I think she started every single one. She's one of the few that has played every one so far for us. That would indicate she starts. Obviously, Ella Toon's come back from her injury as well now. Mia Zara, I think, has played pretty well. We know it's going to be Janssen in that holding midfield role because we don't really have anyone else now. What would you be doing there? Who would you be would you put Grace straight back in? Would you be putting Tooney into the starting 11 now because she didn't start obviously last week? Because I'm finding this really, I don't know what he's going to do. I can't lie. Well, I've got an inkling what in terms he might do, but I do think it's an interesting discussion when Hinney's actually been playing really well.
I mean, there's an element, isn't there, of it's nice to a degree to not just be able to sit here and say this is what the midfield is definitely going to be. A lot of people that have issues with Marc Skinner always used to say that. We know what the team's going to be. So the fact we don't know what the team's going to be in midfield is a welcome change, and certainly a good game for United fans to be able to play. I tend to fall down on the side of it's only 1 game that she's missed, so I'd be surprised if she didn't play. But equally, as you said, Hinney's done incredibly well. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't think the midfield was correct when it came to the West Brom game, really. They just didn't seem to have quite everything that I would have wanted them to have, both going forward and within the midfield. We seemed to be too deep, and although we had the opportunity to get ourselves forward, I don't think we made the most of those attacking opportunities that we could have done. It's not as slick as it has been in previous games. I know certainly something that you guys have mentioned from being there, and certainly what I've gleaned from highlights and watching matches on the TV and YouTube, is that although we do well and we maintain the possession, we're not really doing too much going forward. It's not the most exciting of football. So as a result, I don't think I'm answering your question incredibly well with regards to who should start, because I think it's all a bit of a muchness. I mean, if we want to go down into just, Barry, Manchester United fan, I'm still fuming that he's got rid of Hayley Ladd, and I'm still fuming that he's got rid of Katie Zellum. I feel like you've got 2 midfielders there who made a massive difference to the squad, and ultimately they're gone. So it then comes down to how he chooses to set up, and maintaining that sort of three in midfield of a triangle. he's gonna have a player, if he puts Clinton in there or Miyazawa. Either way, that player is sort of fluctuating between the two, being an attacking player and coming back in order to help Dominic Janssen. So the question becomes, can Hinnie do that? Can Grace do that? Grace, I think, is certainly better going forward. So then you've got to ask yourself the question, is it going to be Hinnie playing, but Grace also plays? And you end up with Ella Toone being shifted out to one of the wings, which I think would be one of the worst things that could possibly happen, because of the fact she's finally come back and is ready to go. But I mean, it would be a very Skinner-esque thing to do. Excellent game at the weekend, Ella. Lovely to have your form back. Now let's carry that over to the left wing, shall we? And to be fair, Ella, you did score your goal coming in from the left, so it shows that you can do it. I think that's probably the sort of thing that he would do. So expect the unexpected. It is generally the best way to go there. But I think if you were asking me to nail down that midfield three, Ella Toone would be the point of that three. He's going to play Dominic Janssen. I don't think there's a shout for Simi, because she's more defensively minded. But with the injuries that's going on there, I don't think he's necessarily going to think he needs that. So I think he'll probably be able to get away with throwing Grace Clinton in.
Yeah, I think, Liberty, I want to throw this over to you, and I'll come back to Barry in a second, because Mark actually was asked about this, about Grace and Ella in the press conference earlier. And I know his response got a lot of reaction, as it does with a Marc Skinner press conference. You're always going to get something that comes out from it. But the exact quote, he basically got asked whether they can play together in this system because of seeing Toone out on the left and obviously both being back now. His answer was, well, when they've played before, I think they have a good connection individually. I'm not always sure, though, that it's always worked for the team. I definitely think it's the team you're playing against. And then goes on to talk about the circumstance and a lot of Skinner-esque buzzwords. Then says, sorry about that. They just ask it, energy and all that kind of stuff that he likes to say. They have a really good relationship, both of them. I know Grace looks up to Ella. They have a healthy relationship, but I like the competition factor. So, Liberty, I guess my question to you is, do you think they can play together in this United team with somebody behind? Because my argument was at the start of the season was always yes, and you put Hayley Ladd behind them. We now don't have Hayley Ladd. So my argument now is no, because I just don't think you can play those two with Janssen. But what have you made of that comment from Mark this morning? And do you think they can play together in this team?
I think the key word the key phrase you just used was this team. So before Janssen joined United, I am, if people don't know me, I'm a keen women's European League enthusiast, and watched a lot of her at Wolfsburg. And okay, mainly she was playing at centre back there, but I still am not convinced by her. I think she's good. I don't think she's great, and I don't think she's got enough in her to be a single pivot, especially in the WSL. So I would say not with Janssen, but with a different defensive midfielder. And I don't think that this is the opportunity to try that. I don't think you can risk it now, especially in the league when you have Brighton chasing you down and you have this fight for the top spaces that can slip away in a game, like quite literally one result it will cost you in this league at this point. So I don't think this is the moment for it. I think maybe the FA Cup game, try it then, with Janssen or someone else behind them. But yeah, I don't think that this is the time to play Toone and Clinton together. You didn't ask me, technically you didn't ask me who I would play of Toone or Clinton, but I will give my opinion. I think I'd play Ella Toone for starting, because somebody said in the chat, and I agree, you need to build her confidence at this point, there we go. I think she needs to be playing in her natural position in midfield, and you need to build her confidence. And a United fan, somebody who like lives and breathes this team in a derby, that's going to build her confidence more than any regular fixture. And I feel like you need to give her this opportunity to play like herself again and have that sense of like oomph behind her and build on the performance from last weekend. And then maybe she can't play a full 90 yet because she is obviously literally second game back from injury. Okay, then you bring Clinton on at half time at 60 minutes. You know, these kind of times to see out the game, because I also don't think, as much as you're saying it was only one game she was gone, there's still obviously something that means she misses that game. So maybe she also can't play a full 90 quite yet. So you kind of have to even it out. And yeah, I would start Ella Toone on Sunday and then bring Clinton on.
I think that's definitely the conversation. I think against City, that City midfield in particular is extremely good. I don't like to give City too much credit, but that midfield is very, very good at keeping on of the one thing City have done very well against us in the last couple of games, particularly last season at Old Trafford and at the Etihad. That midfield pressed us like mad all over the pitch, and we could not get out through the midfield. So we didn't really have an out ball. That's probably going to be similar to what we see on Sunday. And I think you need players that are very good under pressure on the ball. For me, Miyazawa is that. I think Clinton's. I think, to be fair, all of them can do it. But for me, Miyazawa is the best in that position at doing that.
So I think just to add to that, though, Connor, the thing as well is, obviously, we know there's no Jays. Now, we've got Celine Bizet, obviously, he's going to start, potentially. Is he going to put Melvin Mallard over on the left? I mean, it seems nailed on to me that Talon will start the game. It's what side he's going to go there. And that's why, when we were talking about it earlier, I brought up the possibility that he might decide to just throw Ella to either one of those wings, just purely because he feels he can trust her, and that she will press from the front potentially and do that. So I don't want to see that happen. But, I mean, if you stick it on the wheel of probability, I'll rank it up there with choosing either red or black when it comes to the roulette wheel. I think it very much is 50-50.
That's a good point, actually. Like you said, I think the wings are an interesting one from a United point. We're kind of going away from the midfield conversation a little bit, but I was saying to Liberty backstage beforehand, we've only got one player in this current United squad that scored against City in a United shirt, and that's Leah Golton, and obviously playing off the left. So I would have thought maybe, I mean, I'd say that's a good record against City. It's one goal, and that's it. We've got other players that have scored against City: Bizet, Turler, Mannion, and Williams. I hope I've not missed somebody out there. They've all scored again, and Turner, sorry, have all scored against City. But again, that was at previous clubs, and some of those were 2018. So we're talking quite a while ago. So I'm with you, but I can see him doing it. If I'm being totally honest, I can see two. I don't want to see it because I just think it's just a wasted. Because we're basically playing with 10. I think when you do that, because I think Ema put it earlier on, like flashbacks to the first game of the season, players getting in each other's way. Like I wrote multiple articles about this in the first few weeks of the season because although we were winning, players were just getting in each other's way, and it just didn't work for me. So I want to see actual wingers out there, and then it's between Ella and Grace who starts in the midfield. I'm not really too fussed who it is, but one thing Skinner did say in that quote, that the one part in that not wound me up, but drew my attention straight away, is when he said that I'm not sure it's always worked for the team, and then obviously went on about explaining why they can play together. And it's like, well, I've read that as almost like, well, if you know that, then surely he won't do it again, because that indicates to me that he's noticed that it doesn't always work. Then obviously goes on to talk about it depends on the team you're playing and that kind of thing. It baffles me a little bit if he's seeing that now, that then it would annoy me actually if we then see it on Sunday, because that's an exact quote from him there saying it's not always worked for the team. But I don't know. It's almost like that thing of certain players potentially becoming undroppable. And I don't think there's any player that's Fallon maybe aside. No player should be undroppable. I think everyone should have and maybe Mayer obviously being the captain and playing well at centre back. The rest of them, you can make a case if they play badly there. So I really don't know. I think it's the short answer. I don't know what he's going to do there. My midfield three now can't happen because Ladd is no longer at the club, and I'm going to keep talking about that. But I would, from what we've got, I think Janssen, Hinney, and Toon is probably what I would edge towards, and then bring Grace on later in the game.
The mad thing is, we've seen Ella Toon play with Grace Clinton for England, and I think they both scored. They were really good in that game. So we know it's possible for them to work. We know it can work. But that also feels like a little bit of a mad sentence to say. Well, in some games, well, that's absolutely the case for every football team up and down the country. In some matches, it makes sense to play Leah Galton, and she goes out there like a beast and scores. In other games, we play her, and we might as well have played me because she's not been effective. That's how football works. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. So what I'm actually hearing there is that Marc Skinner is just not always sure when he needs to employ that tactic correctly, or he's just not working incredibly. Oh, look who's back. You can get rid of him. I'll let you. But I think that's your big issue, is that actually he very much could do that, just purely because it comes down to his understanding of how to do it. And like it or not, I think he is going to set up slightly more defensively because it's Manchester City, and that's kind of expected. So as a result, I can see it being players that are going to have the energy to get back. So maybe it will be Leah Galton. I don't think it's going to be Mallard.
It's interesting you say that, because I want to come back to that exact thing, because Mark spoke in his press conference earlier about wanting to really go at City and having no regrets in this game. So I want to come back to that. But Liberty, going back from a City point of view then, Truth, I've started your question. I'll come back to that in a second. Who have been kind of the standouts for City? Like, so there's been a few players in and out of the side. Obviously, they've had some injuries. They're doing pretty well, in the league, kind of up there in second at the moment. Outside of the big names, we know Viv, we know these kinds of players, and I'm not saying that other players in this team aren't known. They're a very good side for a reason. But is there anyone for you that you kind of think has maybe gone under the radar a little bit, as like almost like an unsung hero for City this season so
far? Maybe not unsung. Oh, somebody read my mind. Not unsung, because I do think she's got her praise when it's deserved. But I do think Jess Parker's big one. I think sometimes I wouldn't say she's had off games, but I think she's been less effective in some games than others. But I think back to when they played us at the Emirates, obviously she had that moment of magic where she gets that. I still don't actually understand how she's managed to score that goal. And then she has her massive goal against Palace that sort of opens them up and means that City could go on and score loads. So I would say Jess Park, but I'm also going to say the fullbacks. I'm going to say Kirsten Kasperaj and Lola Wahabi. I think, especially in the absence of... There was a moment where City didn't have Laia Alexandri, and then they now don't have Alex Greenwood. And obviously, those two centre-backs are really, really key for City and how they defend. And they're both really excellent. And I do think that sometimes Kasperaj and Wahabi can go a bit under the radar and a bit underrated. And I would think that they are really, really excellent as well. They kind of come forward, they overlap as sort of a modern fullback does, but they're really good at what they do. And I think that they are someone to be not concerned about, but wary of, because they do that and they get involved in attacks and they can just sort of send a ball in to whoever's in the middle and it can be scored, kind of thing. Obviously, without the headering presence of Bunny Shaw, that may look different, but I would be concerned about them. And I think, they don't really get their praise. As many fullbacks don't seem to get praise. I would like to give it to them. Yeah, and Jess Park as well.
Some really good shouts there. It's going to lead me on to my little fun little question that I love to ask, that Barry will know what's coming. He hates it. That's why I love it when Barry's on these big previews, because then I can ask the question that he absolutely hates. But he's gone. There we go. He'll come back. Just before we do, because we are obviously, this is the women's side of the channel, and we are obviously one club and all that kind of thing. But I just wanted to quickly mention something that's just come up on my phone. I got a little bit distracted. James has just put it in the chat, because United have just released a statement that United legend Dennis Law has passed away at the age of 83, I believe. So I just wanted to quickly give that a mention because that kind of got me distracted. It was apologies, Liberty. I was kind of like I saw that come off my phone as that was as you were talking about that. So that's obviously incredibly sad. I'm sure on the men's channel, which obviously Barry is running at the moment, we'll get something done for that over there and speak about that because that is incredibly sad news. A United legend, that is for sure.
We definitely will. Horrific news to hear about that. You know, obviously he was struggling, and an absolute legend of the club, one of the Trinity, of course. None of them left, unfortunately, from that statue. Now he was the last remaining one, so that's quite sad, and it's got me a little bit. But you start thinking about this, and actually, if you start thinking about some of the big moments of Dennis Law, dare I use this moment, but obviously his little back heel for Manchester City against Manchester United, perhaps one of the biggest talking points of his career. An absolute legend, like the only guy that's got 2 statues because he's got another one in the Stretford end as well. He will be absolutely massively missed. Yeah, God bless him. What a guy.
I was going to say, as you mentioned, it's quite fitting actually. We're doing this on I know again, like I said, this is the women's channel, but a player that has played for both United and City. Not many people can do that and still have a very, very good reputation amongst the fans. You know, we've seen players, you know, in the women's game for that, like Greenwood and whatever, that have moved between clubs, albeit a couple of clubs in the middle. But it's not many players can do that and have a very, very good legacy after the move. So I think that's quite fitting. Apologies to those of you in the chat who's finding out through my voice that that's happened, and Barry obviously on the screen that it's me that broke that news. But I wanted to mention that before obviously the chat got kind of taken over with that one. I'm going to have to bring it back to the game, obviously, because that's why we're here. We're obviously to talk about the women's derby, obviously on Sunday. But Liberty, I will come to you first on this one very quickly because it's a very quick fire question. I didn't prep you for this at all, and you can do this from both ways. Kind of ties into what you just said about unsung heroes and that kind of thing. If you could swap a player from City to United or United to City, you could do both for the starting 11. I don't want none of this. Or you could rotate them or anything like that. Whoever you're swapping is starting in the opposition team. Who do you think would be the best player to swap that would then improve that other team straight away?
Oh, goodness. So from hang on, I'm trying to like comprehend it in my head to like not mess this up. It's just like pressure. So if I swap, because I think I know what I want to say, but I don't actually know if it's going to benefit. I'm trying to be like United forward. I'm trying to think of how this is going to benefit United, because that's kind of the whole point we're here. Don't obviously want to be like, this is going to benefit City, because I don't think I'd be allowed back. If I swap, no, that's not going to work. So my thinking was swapping. No, oh, hang on. No. So I'm going to tell you what was going through my head, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm not saying this. I was thinking about swapping tullis-joyce with whoever would start for City, but then I realised that actually wouldn't help United. Like, that's where my brain originally went, and then I was like, actually, no, the whole point is that I'm supposed to be sort of United forward. So instead, would swap. Oh God, now I would take Yui Hasegawa from City and put her in to United. Think she's probably top 2 number 6s in the league. I think she's really excellent, very underrated, and I think shoring up that sort of defensive midfield for United would really benefit them. Maybe then you'd get to see Toon and Clinton play together in front of her. And yeah, I think that would benefit United most. And also then it would be a downfall for City because they don't have a replacement for her. I guess then they'd have to play Janssen, and that she's not nearly as good, and she doesn't give as much, unfortunately. So I would bring Hasegawa to United, and she'd play for United. And then, yeah, have I done that right? Have I?
Yeah, no. Hasegawa's a great shot. Do you know why didn't I didn't actually think of it, but that would actually massively improve United being a number 6, as you mentioned. For me, the best in the league, I actually think, in that position. That wasn't a player that I was thinking of, though. I would change now, actually, to Hasegawa, but my City player would be Layla Alexandri, actually, for the back line. Because, yeah, I just think, albeit Barry's looking at me because we've only conceded 3, we've got the best defensive record, I think she'd be an upgrade on a Turner or somebody like that. And who knows, maybe we'd have only conceded 2.
Like Dominic Janssen.
She
That
can
centre
play.
back that we bought and then went, we'll stick you in midfield because we can't put you anywhere else.
Alexandri can play at fullback and defensive midfield and centre back. So really, you could rotate her around if you
I
needed.
love how you're trying to be
game.
nice to him, but he's got to play by his own rules. Who's he swapping with? You can't say like a Turner. If you're saying it, do it. What you're saying is we're going to drop Turner, and rather than dropping Turner and putting Janssen in there, you're putting in somebody new from Manchester City, and you call yourself a United fan. Unbelievable, Jeff. What are you doing?
Are you going to play along with this, or are you swapping, if anyone?
I would not swap any of our players for theirs.
I thought that would be the answer.
But if you absolutely forced me into some sort of sumo wrestler, Liberty's got his spot. If you're going to get someone, you need that person that would look after you. I wanted to say Erin Cuthbert, but that's not the answer on this one, unfortunately, so I can't do it. So if I can't have Erin Cuthbert, then I think I'm going to go for Hasegawa. It makes absolute sense. You know, she's just that sort of person who can make the midfield tick. And, you know, again, I think she would be able to do that role that I think Katie did, to be honest with you, and that Hayley could do, which is to just control it, patrol that back four, make sure they're okay and protected, and get the ball forward in the quickest and easiest way possible. So, yes, that's what I would go to if you absolutely forced me to. I looked at others. You'd think about people like Bunny Shaw, but actually I believe in the Queen, Her Majesty, to do just as well. So I see no reason why she can't. And actually start looking at some of the wide players. I'm quite content with the squad. You know, we've got the players. It's just getting them to do the work and putting them in the right place. To make them work. You know, not get them to do the work as if they're all being lazy, but to get them to work together in the way that we know they can.
Do you know who I would love, actually, off City? She's not an official City player yet, but she's about to be in the next couple of days. That's Carolyn. She will be a City player in the next couple of days. A player, obviously, that United were a week or so away from signing back in 2023, but obviously that move fell through, and now she's going to the blue side of Manchester, which is incredibly annoying because I'd have loved her at United, but that's obviously not going to happen. She's not going to be available for the next couple of games, though, which is good. Even if they announce it over the weekend, she won't play against us in the next couple because she's not played since the 9th of November. So There's no way her match fitness is up there, obviously, with the WSL schedule and everything like that.
For entertainment purposes, it would be nice to get Viv Miedema, because then you'd have sort of well, just not because of the game against City. I'm not too fussed about that. But then when it comes to United against Arsenal, you've got Russo and Miedema. You know, I think that would be quite a. I know you had that with City, but I think for us that would be quite a.
Barry's thinking of the marketing. He's thinking, how can I marketing? He's seen the poster. It's all over the city. He's got it.
Imagine that Russo scores the goal to put Arsenal ahead, but Miedema wins it for United. Oh, just imagine. You can hear the sounds of their hearts breaking immediately.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, I wanted Viv for God knows how long, but it's just never quite materialised. Very quickly before we move on, Alex, I want to talk a little bit about Skinner's comments about wanting to attack City and things like that. Alan's put this in here, and I've seen this a lot, that, you know, about taking Chloe Kelly. I don't know whether I'm in the minority or not, but I wouldn't. I don't think Chloe Kelly is any better than any winger we've got. I think I would have Bizet, Jace, Mallard, Galton all over. I would start Kelly. And I don't know whether I'm in the minority there or not. And you got to remember as well, Kelly's wages, not that that's the be-all and end-all, it's not me paying it, but Kelly would come with a lot of wages as well that I think would then push our wage structure to a place that would disrupt other players as well. I just don't think it'd be worth it. If me and Tony on it.
Don't need it.
I mean, Liberty, do you agree with that as well? Could you see that? Because I'm just so like, no, not for me.
Yeah, I don't think. Obviously, Fish is very good. When she's in form, she's very good. If we're looking at current Chloe Kelly, she hasn't scored since she scored against Arsenal, over a year ago. Maybe like 13, 14 months. That might be a bit much, but I know the last time she scored was against us, and then they lost. Yeah, that was that game. But I don't think so. Also, I don't think I can see her working in a Skinner team. Not saying that it wouldn't be possible, but I just don't see who she is, how Skinner wants to play football, sort of meshing together, and it would be more of a signing because of who she is and her name, more than something that makes sort of logical sense to me. I don't think, realistically, I wouldn't say any big team in the WSL should be looking at signing Chloe Kelly. If I was Chloe Kelly, I'd be looking at going abroad, and there's a lot of conversation is she'll come to Arsenal. I don't want it. I wouldn't like to see her at United. Yeah, I think maybe you'd go to. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm getting out. I'm getting this. I've taken the conversation away. No, I don't think it would be a logical signing for United to bring in Chloe Kelly. I don't see it working at all.
No, I tend to agree. And to be fair, Alan, I'm unfortunately going to say this. I think you might be in the minority looking at the chat as well, because I think everyone here is saying, Ema's saying I'm in the majority. Maybe I am. But it's coming here saying about how about I take Lauren Hem. Absolutely. I think that is a winger that I think, for me, again, is one of the best wingers in the league. So I wouldn't say no to her. But that's just not going to happen. She's never leaving City to come to us. It's one of those ones you do on like FIFA or something. It's not necessarily a realistic one, but wouldn't say no to her. I think that's definitely a player that would improve us.
TJ backed him up. TJ said he would have Chloe Kelly.
Oh, would he? Oh, there we go. Maybe. Do you know what? I might run that as a poll actually when I come off here on the Twitter account and just see what the consensus is actually, because I'm really intrigued.
My favourite comment is, I don't know if this is two intentional typos or this is just unlucky. Much rather have Rules brand than Close Kelly. That's made me giggle. I think that is on purpose now that I've reread it, but that just kind of made me laugh.
Oh, see. I'm trying to find that comment now. I can't find it, but there we go. But yeah, Ema, to be fair, I'd have taken Stanway or Caroline Weir when she was at City as well. Because, as I always say on it, you can't have too many Scots in your team. Let's get some more of them, get the numbers up. So let's get Kaz Weir. She's over in Madrid at the moment. We can do that. Anyway, let's bring it back to the game itself. And so we're already 45 minutes in. We were on a mission this year to shorten the show times down for you guys, but they're going up, if anything. But Barry, I'll start with you with this question because Mark was asked about. I can't remember what the exact question was, but he gave an answer basically talking about how he wants to attack City. And you'll notice I'm stalling a little bit because I'm trying to get the exact quote so I don't misquote him. Here we go. Well, what he said was, what I'm expecting from our team is high energy, all in to defend as well as we have been, but actually have that personality on the ball. He then got asked another question about what that actually means, and what his answer was talking about being able to make that decision on the ball, whether you shoot and pass or whatever. Then goes on to say, what I want to see from these games, I want no regrets from the players. Don't go in and fear it and then moan afterwards that you didn't win. You're an elite footballer, an athlete for a reason, so use the moment and grow in that moment. He likes the word moment a lot. That's a Skinner word, that is. Moment and energy. He loves those words. But what do you make of that, Barry? Do you think you said at the start that he might be more defensive? I don't know, because that implies to me, and there are other quotes that I've not read out there, that he's talking about wanting to go at City and attack them because that's the best way to beat them. What do you think is the best way to beat them? Do you think it's trying to hit them on the break? Do you think we should just go at them and see where we go from there? What do you think on that one?
Well, I mean, the best way to beat them is to score more goals than them. I mean, it's as simple as it gets. It's not a complicated game, football. Listen, Marc Skinner is a king of being able to say a lot of things without actually saying much. It sounded like a highly motivational speech, but I've lost count of the number of times I've heard him say that we're going to learn lessons from things that have happened before, or, you know, we're going to try and do this, that, or the other. It's going to be, like I say, high intensity, high energy. You know, we've not been sponsored by Lucozade or Red Bull this season because it's not been there. You know, maybe they need to change their energy drink supplier, but it's not quite there with that. So listen, we can all come out and say things that we want to happen, but the players have got to buy into that, and the players have got to do it as well. And it's also up to him to make sure that he's knitted together the side that he wants to do that they've had the chance to practice it and to implement the style that he wants. Now, we've had questions over the course of the last year and a half with the exactly that. So we've got to do. It's not hard. We've had conversations about Martin Ho leaving and the change in identity that we seem to have since then. Is he starting to get to a point where he's finding a strategy? I don't know. But I think the issue I've got with the way Marc Skinner sets up and with what he does is that he will probably try and do a form of tinkering. But as I say, with whereabouts he decides to play the players. But if you're asking me, with my absolute plethora of coaching badges and all that, which I just don't have, just my, you know, old person having watched a lot of football brain, you've just got to be, and I'm hoping this is what you're trying to say, smarter with the ball. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Make sure that we do a lot of playing out from the back. If we're going to do that, you've got to make sure the pass is on, but also smarter off the ball. That's where the high energy comes from. You've got to make yourself available. If you're in a situation where the ball's being played forward from the defence through the midfield, they can't be static. So they've got to move. They've got to want the ball. They've got to have options. You've got to have people making runs when they know they're not going to get the ball in order to draw other players away. If people will forgive me, but going back into the way United were playing against Arsenal with the corners, it was so easily dealt with because you just had to send players up, send 3 players up, and all of a sudden they've got to go and defend those players. So you've got to knock them off of their game. We know that Man City can play a good game, but if Everton can beat them, so can we. Like, what's special about Everton other than the fact that they've got a hard-working Welsh midfielder called Etihad and we don't? What's different? Not a lot. Like, we can beat them. That's the simplicity of the situation. We know that we can. We've done it before. We haven't done it in the last year and a bit. Each game we've lost, we've scored a goal, but they've scored 2 or 3. So I'm not as worried about them scoring. I'm really not, because I think Fallon in the defence will absolutely have this. But genuinely, they've just got to get everybody in. The same sort of attitude and energy that we had against Chelsea when we had that rather wonderful FA Cup win. And it's just that. They've got to be ready to do it. And so the players have got to be ready to do their part. It's not all on Marc Skinner. But he's absolutely got to make sure he's set out the right players and given them the right opportunity. He's got to play to their strengths. And one of those people is sorry, I was nearly called out the name that you don't want me to call her, Elizabeth Turland. Because we're just not using her to the level that she should be used. This is the woman who was right up there, having scored goals in the WSL. You know, it's the reason why we got her, top goal scorer. In my very best Delia Smith voice, where are you? Let's be having you. But is it Elizabeth Turland's fault, or is it that we're just not giving her the ball in the right positions? We spoke about the fact that she's had the second most shots on goal in the WSL after Bunny Shaw. But she's got fewer goals than Leslie Russo, who's had 1 shot less than her. So there is also an element of where is she taking those shots from? And it's not in the positions that she wants to be in. So you've got to, if you're bringing players in, you've got to use them to the very best of their ability. We've brought in a brilliant centre-back. We've banged her into centre midfield and said, you be the Katie Z and you be the Hayley Ladd, even when you don't need to. The simple fact is, if we want to win these games, we're going to have to be a little bit smarter. And that comes from him as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, he lives and dies by his decision. It's his job. It's up to him whether he wins it, loses it, keeps it. But quite frankly, we talk about how am I feeling going into it. I mean, I'll tell you an hour before kickoff when we know what absolute monstrosity he's decided to come out with this week.
I think it really is going to be interesting. And you're right to mention Turland as well, because I feel sorry for, like you said, she's had chances as such, but you look at where she's taken those shots from and the opportunities she's get. I wouldn't say they're clear cut. I think she's maybe missed 2 clear cut. I think there was maybe one against West Ham where I thought she maybe could have done a bit better. There was definitely one in the Villa game. I think it was either Villa or the one before that. I can't remember. There was definitely one around that period where I'm like, you've got to be scoring that. But other than that, I'm not sat there going, oh, how she missed that on a weekly basis. I'm like, we're not giving her the chances. I agree with TJ, by the way. We need to practice. I don't know what happened at that West Brom game in particular. The amount of crosses we put into the box, that the headers were just going wide or straight down the middle or just missing the ball or whatever else.
That's a heck of a shout. Bearing in mind we're just talking about, Dennis Law passing, all those sorts of things. It's banned at youth age to be practicing these headers. The game isn't going to go anywhere, but this idea that practicing headers is the key to it. Why don't we just learn to pass better?
All that.
It's not just that. If we could do that bit before we start worrying about headers, personally, I think that would be better, because I think the fact that she's not getting the ball with the service she would usually have is part and parcel of it.
No, I think that's a fair point. Just very 2 quick comments, or a quick comment that started when I said about shortening the shows. Amara was not a fan of that. There is other stuff coming soon, which is why we're shortening some of the shows down a little bit. Because trust me when I say there'll be a lot more content you see on here over this year in particular. The number of shows and the number of other stuff as well is going up. So
I've not been on that much, Amara. That's why it gets shorter. He throws me on, and all of a sudden we're on a 7-hour epic. I can't help it. I'm a hobbit. It's what I do.
There was a streamer actually I saw. I think it was an Arsenal page that did a stream for about 8 hours the other day, and I was like, that is just crazy. It wasn't a charity one or anything else. It was literally just talking about, I think it was after we beat them actually on Sunday, talking about Arteta. Sorry, talking about the FA Cup game, and it was like 8 hours. Are you mad? What have you got to say for 8 hours?
I could talk for 8 hours after that game. I quite easily. I would more be ranting and words that I won't repeat here, but I think I could go for it.
I mean, so we won't be doing that. That's for sure. On here. But Livingston, I'll throw that over to yourself in terms of what I can't remember what my original question was to Barry. I think it was about the attacking side of United's game, in terms of whether you think that's the best approach for United to approach the game with. And Truth asked the question earlier, could you see him starting Rachel Williams, for example? And I hope not, if I'm being totally honest. This for me is not a Rachel Williams game. Start her against Wolves, start her in those kind of games. Yeah, fair enough, but not in this. Did that away at Chelsea and that did not work. But do you think that's United's best way of getting something out of this, is going at City and really taking the game to them rather than maybe sitting off? Because the defensive side of this team speaks for itself. We've only conceded 3. Fallon's kept ridiculous. She on now 11 clean sheets, I think it is. Like, the defense is fine. We can defend as a team for the most part. So do you think now it's just showing that maybe attacking intent in these types of games and going at
them? Yes, but I don't necessarily think that it should be sort of all guns blazing. I don't know what this means, but I don't think it should be like all guns blazing, push City to their limits and hope that we get something. I think it should be... So my answer would change if they had Alex Greenwood, because if they had Alex Greenwood, I would say do something like Chelsea did and get someone just to sit on Hasegawa, even though we've just praised her like 10 minutes ago. Get someone to sit on Hasegawa and basically stifle them in the midfield, and then they've got nothing. They don't have Alex Greenwood, so now I'm saying do it on the counter. Let them do what they want, but hit them on the counter, because they haven't got the... not strength, but the sure S-U-R-E, not Bunny Shaw, in the defense anymore. Whether it's going to be, I mean, the Alana Kennedy stuff, I'm still confused by it, but there's basically no Alex Greenwood, so it's not going to be as confident and as clean. Yes, thank you. Assuredness, that's what I meant. Thank you. it's not going to be as at their best. And I think if you can hit them on the counter, they struggled with that against Everton. That's how Everton scored both of their goals, and Everton could have had more. And I think if you can do something with that, then you've got more chance of scoring. But yeah, I wouldn't say sort of. This seems sort of counterintuitive, I guess, when we're talking about Skinner and how he wants to play football. But I wouldn't deviate too much from the United we've seen. I think you don't expect. I keep coming back to this idea that this is a derby. This is probably United and City's biggest game of the season so far. There is a hunger and a want to win this game from both sides. That means you can't throw what you've known for the rest of this season before and the identity you've got as a team out the window, because that's not how you play derby football. And I think that you need to find a sweet medium of being United on one hand and using what you've seen other people do to hurt City on the other. And I think if you can find that middle ground, that's how you win this game, because obviously City are going to adapt to what happened against Everton, and especially because it's been maybe 4 or 5 weeks since that. So they're going to have adapted, and now they've signed a new defender. Still not Alex Greenwood, still not the best defender, but they have got somebody so that is probably ever so slightly better than Alana Kennedy. So I think, yeah, they're going to adapt. You have to adapt. And I don't think I actually answered the question, but I wouldn't go sort of full out attack. I think I'd be more conservative to who United are than anything. But I wouldn't go super defensive either, because there's no Shaw and there's no Lauren Hemp. So they're already weakened in attack. It's quite a complicated question, actually.
Yeah, and the reason I ask it as well, because obviously our last game, obviously against a traditional top three, was Chelsea away, and we literally camped in our own half. We couldn't have been, especially in that first half, we couldn't have been any deeper than we were. I don't even think we had a player in the opposition half when Sky did the graphic for that. So we saw how that went. And like I said, on paper, I know Mark came out after the game saying it was a good performance and we only lost 1-0, but so many fans were annoyed at that because it was so boring to watch, just being camped back and trying for that one opportunity. And he's filled me with a little bit of optimism that we are going to go for it, because I do believe the squad is there to do it. The defensive side of this team is good enough. The attacking players we've got is good enough. We can go at City. Now, I agree with you. We can't just throw everyone forward and go, yeah, let's just go for this, because City do have players that can hit you on the other end. But there's no reason for me why we can't be just trying and testing. I actually think fans will accept a loss a lot more. I'm not saying we are going to lose. You'll see my prediction in a second. But I think fans would accept it a lot more if we went for it. Last season, it was frustrating because we didn't. We were 3 down without even going for the game. And that's what was most frustrating. So I think as long as we see that, I think fans can be a little bit more content with it. Obviously, like I said, you don't want to go all out and get beat 5-0. That's not acceptable. Let's not see that. But yeah, I just think I don't know. As I said, I'm asking the questions here, and even I'm finding them difficult because I don't know. United are such a difficult team to analyse this season because, as I said, you can't fluke a league position. We are where we are. We're 1 point off second, obviously City at the moment. That's a good position relative to being. I think many fans would have taken that. But United fans that have watched the team week in, week out, it's been a struggle. You never know what United team you're going to see each week. A lot of games have been pretty boring, if I'm being totally honest. So I really don't know what to expect. So should we get a big win? Could be a bit of a kickstart. And to be fair, I think we need it. And that's kind of my final question before we come to score predictions is kind of to both of you, really. Do you feel this is a must-win for either team at this stage of the season? Because a lot of pressure gets put on that, whether it's a must-win for either side. The league table, obviously the top 3 race, which is essentially what United are in at the moment. I don't think we're catching Chelsea at the top. I don't think anyone's catching Chelsea, if I'm being totally honest. But in terms of that, Liberty, I'll start with you. Is it a must-win, do you think, for either team or not?
My personal sort of football philosophy is that no game is a must-win before like April. I don't think, and I think even I say that also with sort of less games in the WSL in mind. I don't think any game at this time in the season is a must-win. I think you could say it's a must-win because it's a derby and it's a big game and it's sort of that sort of aspect, but sort of the league, no. And also, I disagree. I still think people can chase down Chelsea. I think it's tight enough that Chelsea still have to play Arsenal, City, United, Liverpool, even though that's obviously contentious this season. But they still have to play basically these big teams that have and can hurt them. So I wouldn't say it's a must win. I would say it's a needed win for United for confidence and for momentum. But I wouldn't say it's a must win, no.
And Barry, I'll throw that same question over to yourself. Highland's come in with a, yes, if you want top three. We know that our last three is obviously ridiculously hard, ending at the Emirates on the last game of the season. Where are you siding towards on this one in terms of must win? It does feel a bit early, I think, to be saying must win, but
let me be the one to disagree with you all then. It hasn't happened much, and I obviously don't want to scare off lovely people that have come onto the show. But I think ordinarily in the footballing world, you would say it's too early. But we're talking about a Chelsea side here that's played 10 games and still haven't been beaten. Now, I don't know all of the stats, but I would wager that, it's been Chelsea for the last 5 years. When they've won the league, what's the most amount of games they've lost in the WSL season? I would argue no more than 2. Now, if it's already no more than 2, there's a 6-point point difference right there, right now. You lose that, Chelsea go and win theirs, that's a 9-point gap. So I feel like I agree with you 100% that Chelsea can be caught. Of course they can, because who knows what could happen, dodgy injuries, a bit of a purple patch of poor results absolutely could happen. Maybe even draw a couple. But I do feel like these are the games where they sort of do become, it's the opposite of the relegation 6-pointer, isn't it? It's the one where you're up the top, and actually getting the win is so very important because it doesn't just give you an opportunity, but it damages the opportunities of the others. City are a point ahead of us. But if they lose that game, then all of a sudden they're 2 points behind us. We're actually in the top 3. It's irrelevant then what Arsenal's goal difference is, because we can be within that position. We've got something to defend, and you'd always rather have the points on the board. If we lose it, we're 4 points behind, and 4 points feels a lot bigger than 3 because it's 2 results rather than 1. So I think I suppose if I was looking for common ground and I wanted to be nice and pleasant, I'd probably say maybe it's not must win, but it's definitely not. It's definitely must not lose. And I think that's a really big thing. I think if you lose it, you are losing serious ground. And for City, it's not so bad. Like I say, it will only be 2 points. So it's only 1 slip up from us. But at this point in the WSL, we're at the halfway mark. We're going to be literally onto the home stretch now. So, we've come back. We're heading back towards the clubhouse. And it's really important that I think we look at these games in the context that they are, I think, for that one, because if we're going to if we're going to get Chelsea, that's kind of what we need to do. I've got no idea who's just shouted League Gunner, but I really hope that's not at me, because I don't want to be anything like those people on AFTV. They're far too shouty. But yeah, so I think that to me would be the thing. So are we going to catch Chelsea? It's highly unlikely, and it looks like they're on their way to another title. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel personally, maybe it is. If you want to catch Chelsea, if you're serious about catching them, you've got to win these games against your rivals, because they are.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of what I'm siding towards, that it's definitely a must not lose. Because I think with City's injuries at the moment, this is the weakest City team you're going to play. By the time we play them again, this is high. Obviously, we don't know this yet, but those players are going to be back by the time we play them again. Now, they might get new injuries or new players get injured, whatever. We don't know what the squad's going to look like back then, but they will. But this is the weakest City team we're going to play. No Carolyn yet in the team. Shaw out, Greenwood out, Hemp out. You're not facing a City team like that again. And Miedemar only just coming back. So that would be my thing of, for me, a draw depends on the context of the game. But I'm looking at this game thinking we probably need to go there and aim to win this, because I've said all along, I don't want to get to those last 3 games of the season knowing we need to win at least 2 of them, because one of those is against Chelsea. The other one's, obviously City at Old Trafford and away at the Emirates. I want to be in the top 3 when we get to those 3 games, knowing that we can maybe afford one slip up, 1 or 2, but not needing to win all of them.
And in the context of what you're asking, those are the games that are must win when you're literally right at the end, at the death, and doing that. But I just feel like history, if it's taught us anything, it is this. Chelsea are not going to slip up much. There's going to be something, but it's not going to be much. And so you've got to get yourself in that position where you can get to those end of season must win games. And I think a loss or even a draw, really, to be honest with you here, is tricky if you've got any designs on the title. In terms of top 3, absolutely not. There's plenty of give and take to happen there.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think I said to Georgia the other week, I think if we're looking at top 3, I think, but we've got 9 games until those last 3. I think we probably need to get 6 or 7 wins at the very least for top 3 for the title. You're probably looking at 8 or 9. By the time we get to those last 3 games of the season, then obviously we'll see what the league table looks like then. Obviously in that we've got Liverpool away, obviously at Anfield, we've got Brighton in a couple of weeks who we just obviously drew against this season already. Villa away, another team we drew against. So we got, and Spurs away as well, which is never going to be a too easy one, but we'll see. There's a lot of people talking about Chelsea and Gerber. I'd rather not go down that road because that just makes me sad because I don't want that to happen. She is unreal. And someone said to me, Chelsea need... No, they don't. Chelsea don't need players. They want players to make their squad even better than it already is. They don't need anyone. It annoys me when I hear that Chelsea need players. No, they don't. Let's not go down that road. Anyway, let's come to score prediction and then round this one off into what we're thinking score-wise for Sunday. Who wants to kick us off with a prediction here? I've got mine in my head. I'm ready. Shall I go for, or someone got one ready? I think we win 2-1. I'm going into this actually thinking we will beat them for once, finally, at their place, because I think the defensive side of this team is good enough to keep them out. No Greenwood. I think that's obviously going to be a big loss for them as well. I back us to beat them 2-1. To be honest, and go from there. Who's going to disagree with me?
I'm going to disagree.
Go on, have him.
I think it's going to be 1-1.
I thought you were going to say 3-1 United.
Oh, sorry. No. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think that I have this vision of City going ahead and then United coming back for a 1-1, and I don't really know why, but I just think that that's what I feel is most likely. I feel like there's going to be City will go ahead, and then there's going to be some like grit and like determination from United to go and at least get a draw, if not get more. So I'll say 1-1. But 1-1 pushing towards maybe a 2-1. But I think, 1-1, final answer.
I genuinely am a bit... I don't see City scoring.
I was just about to say, you've got to go 1-0 now, because I've gone 2-1. Liberty's gone 1-0. You've got to go 1-0.
No, I've got this horrible feeling that we might not score either. I think I'm going to go, it might end up 0-0.
Do you know what? That was a worry of mine, to be fair. Because it's so high. Games that are always massively hyped always end up being below what you think it's going to be. So you might be right.
I think the only thing I feel confident on is that we're not going to concede. And that's what PTJ has done to me. 10 out of 13 is ridiculous. ridiculous numbers that she's posting. So I feel like you're a fool to bet on her conceding. It feels like it'd be more of a shock than anything else. So yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, her save percentage as well is what like her, just everything about her this season has been unreal. And as people have seen, just a bloody good person as well. With the video she's doing, going into schools and talking about all her marine stuff as well. It's absolutely. I'm so glad she's a United player. I know Liberty, I don't think is on that one, but
I would like to say I was a fan of her when she was in Seattle, and not necessarily that I wanted her to join Arsenal, but I wanted her to come to the WSL because I thought she deserved the chance for more people to see her. Because unfortunately, not a lot of people watch the NWSL, especially outside of the States.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad she's in the WSL. Not so glad that it's not for Arsenal, but I'm quite happy with our number one goalkeeper. So maybe it's okay that she's not in an Arsenal shirt.
It's all right. You took Mary Earps off this, didn't you? Oh no, wait, that didn't happen.
I didn't want Mary Earps. I'm just going to put that out there. I didn't actually ever want Mary Earps. I was not part of that crowd, so it's fine.
I reckon I can I say this on here now? I think I can now. She's gone, but I reckon Mary chose not to join Arsenal because I accidentally said that almost to her face that she was going to Arsenal at Spurs away in December of 23 when she was signing some autographs and stuff like that, and I didn't realise she was stood right in front of me, and I think I said something like, "Oh, don't worry, you can get your autographs when she comes down to Arsenal in next month," or something like that. Forgetting that she stood right there and she heard me because she just death stared me. And I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So maybe that's why she didn't. She just wanted to shut me up, but who knows? Right,
we like Liberty too, by the way.
Of course we do. That's why we keep inviting her on, not just on this channel. But
have you asked this question? Have we had this question answered by Liberty before?
I don't think we have.
That's a very important question. And to be brutally honest, Liberty, this could change our opinion as to whether we like Liberty or not.
Don't be pressured into an answer.
So, you've gone to a restaurant, you bought a burger.
Yeah.
How do you eat that burger?
I would cut it in half, but then eat it with my hands.
That's such a fad an answer.
I would cut it in half so I can I'm near of you have seen me in person. Ask people that have. I am very small. I am 4'11", and nothing, and everything's proportional. Nothing. I haven't got massively big hands or a big mouth or anything. So I have to cut it in half, else it's not possible for me to eat it. But then I'd eat it with my hands once it's a reasonable size for my proportions. So definitely not with a knife and fork or anything.
We're eating it with a knife and fork.
That's the exact answer that Fallon gave when I asked her the question as well. I got my hopes up then. I have to be honest, Highland. That for my birthday, that post you did was brilliant. I will credit you on that one. Look at this.
To be fair, there's a couple of other questions we could ask you. What's your thoughts on Queen? The band, that is, not the one that died.
I quite like Queen. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Most overrated band of all time?
No.
See,
I know why I'm being asked these because I've seen it all, but I'm quite enjoying it because basically everything that was previously said before. I'm like, no, I don't agree with that.
I suppose the last question I've got for you is: could you tell me the plot of The Little Mermaid?
Yeah, she is.
Yes,
yeah.
we'll do. That's fine.
Okay, cool. I was like, I don't. Do you want me to tell?
Liberty's back.
I know the plot of The Little Mermaid. Yes.
Just, should we make it 4 out of 4? Of course you have.
Have you seen both Lion Kings? Have you seen both the animated and the live action?
I haven't seen the live action, just the animated.
Okay. But you've seen the black one, that's all that matters. It's not hard.
One day I'll find, to be fair, I found that obviously George is with me with the knife and fork thing, but that's about it. I've not found someone else with it makes me laugh now because people know with films to just I think it was Georgia. Funny enough, Georgia, when you're watching this back, she said to me yesterday, so have you watched it? Oh no, of course you haven't. She didn't even finish what she was saying. She just stopped us and went, no, of course you haven't seen it. And I hadn't, to be fair, the film she was about to ask. But there we go. So
I can't believe you even asked this question. How would you know what that is?
I don't.
That's a stupid question, Ema. Now I've got to explain the Truman Show. For God's sake. So the Truman Show, you know Big Brother?
Like
the TV series. It's a bit like that, only he was born and raised in this place where everybody was actors around him. And so even his wife was an actress. And that was what they, and that's what he was played by Jim Carrey. Yeah. He was the Truman, yeah. And so eventually he wants to escape and he tells his mate, I want to go to this place. It began with an M, wasn't it? It wasn't Malta. It was somewhere else like the Maldives or something he wanted to go to. And he finally managed to escape off of the set. But literally people were just watching him in bars all across the world, just watching what he did. It's a crazy thing, actually. If I hadn't told you what it was about, you should watch it.
Yeah, maybe. I can't believe this.
BG.
People here questioning, where was that comment gone there? Better ask Connor if you know. Do you know what? I mean, yes, I've seen him in 2 films. I know, shock. I've seen 2 films.
The Grinch?
I can't remember. No, I can't remember for life. One of them was. Is it Yes Man? Is that what he's in? Where he has to say yes to everything? So I've seen that. He's in another one. What's he? Is it? It's not. No, it's not Evan Almighty. What's the other one? Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
So I've seen those 2.
Have you seen Evan Almighty?
Yeah. I've seen the other one as well.
Well,
3 films.
Nice. That one.
Growing up in the world. I know people can't believe this. But there we
What interesting films. So you've watched Bruce Almighty and Yes Man.
Yeah.
One where a man becomes God and the other one where the man only says yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You might like Liar Liar. That'd be a good one.
I've never seen these people putting in. I've never seen that or that. I've never even heard that second one.
You can get a good little quote out of that. Somebody stop me.
I feel like I'm going to get a message after this.
And to be fair, Ella, he doesn't like Christmas. So he wouldn't watch The Grinch. He is The Grinch.
To be fair, yeah. But Keris has been outed here. Keris, I'm going to send this to you if you're not watching this back. Yeah, this is getting. We're going to put it in the chat after we get this fact checked. See if that's a thing. But what? The little blue thing
Hedgehog.
That runs fast. That film.
Did you know that Sonic the Hedgehog is actually an alien?
I would have thought so.
You'd have thought so. I didn't know that. I read that. I was like, oh my God, Sonic's a hedgehog. How can a hedgehog be an alien? Madness.
What's going on here? He's got the hair for the Grinch. I can't believe this.
I don't know about that.
Shocking. This is what these shows descend into, and this is what.
I have to Google this just to be sure. I can't.
Oh God, I'm never going to be able to wrap
Well, I
this
don't see it. I've got to be honest.
Oh my life! I've just googled Grinch hair. That are you joking?
No. That would only work if he fell asleep and I could get the hair clippers out in time.
I can't believe. Look at this. This just is just roast me for 10 minutes.
In some respects, it was to flop. And yes, Mega Drive is the answer to your question, Michael. Mega Drive is, Connor?
It's a games console, or something like that. Is it? Yeah.
Spot on.
There we go. See? There we go. At least we can provide some entertainment on a Friday night for you. Something a little bit. What should we report? Honestly, you wait. We'll do, like I said, some different kind of shows where that is just going to be the topic. I think on this channel where I'll go away and watch. It's like a book club, isn't it? I'll go away and watch a film, and I'll come back and report what it was like, and we can go from there. I've watched new films. I don't even care now. I'm going to say it on here. So, spirit of watching new films. I finally watched new films the other day.
Oh,
for the first time in like years. I
how
watched
was the Barbie film?
Cheeky son. I actually watched the Kingsman films, which I can't lie to you, I think are unreal. I've watched the first one back about 5 times since I watched that because I love them. So there we go. It's a couple of new films that I've watched. They are brilliant.
Picked a good film. Connor, you just increased your film rep by a point. Well done.
They are unreal. So I'm about 10 years too late, but I have now watched them at least.
You wait till you start getting to some of the proper films that we've been telling you to watch. You'll be about 60 years too late by that point. But you know,
it has given it's opened my eye. I know it's opened my eyes a bit, JJ. It really has to do some new films out there.
I think it's all just about attitude. Like, you know, you said that you're not always into films because you've got to focus on one thing for a long time. But I mean, I take credit for this because I've spent so long priming you for these shows to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours. You should be ready to watch films by now. So, you know, good stuff. Well done, you.
No, absolutely. I'm sorry. We are going to wrap this show up in like a minute. I just wanted to fact check something.
If you've just seen the City signing brand, they're pushing for it. Catherine Bates just dropped it.
What, Russell?
Why?
They're pushing. It's not done, but they're pushing for it. Which is concerning for me because obviously we all know Kelly's... Oh, Brian have just equalised. We all know that Kelly's on the way out, but who else is leaving? Because you don't need your brand as well. Anyway, yeah. I'm just upset because I want Brand at Arsenal. But
yeah, I want to United as well.
Everyone would kind of want her, don't they? I also would like Sven Johnston there, but
yeah.
Anyway,
a lot of players to keep an eye on. Brand is out of contract in the summer, so we'll keep an eye on that one. On that,
is there any chance they're actually getting Joe Brand?
Hopefully. Well, I'd rather that than Judy anyway. But very quick, I'll just round the show off for this question because it kind of ties into what we were just saying. True's asking, do we see another possible incoming? Also expect Saf goes on loan. Yes, I think Mark said this in the press conference earlier that they're looking at loans for Saf. So if the right one comes about, I can see that.
He's a bit old to be going on loan, isn't he?
I knew that joke was coming as well. I've done too many of these shows with you. In terms of incomings, I think, to be honest, it's hard for me to answer because we're definitely speaking, I think, to people about one more incoming in a forward area. But at the moment, I think it's difficult because a lot of our targets are for the summer. So I don't, at the moment, I would be surprised if we got somebody else. But that's not to say it's not going to happen. I just think our targets for the summer. So we'll wait and see what happens on that one. Right, well, let's wrap it up there. We'll be back obviously on Monday, 7 o'clock for the match reaction, talking hopefully about a Manchester United win. We'll see what happens there. Make sure you're following all of our socials, All for United WFC, on every single platform. Make sure you're following Liberty. Liberty, where can people find you? I forgot to ask you that. Where can people find all your work these days that you're getting up to?
I always say this. I always say the exact same phrase. Just look up my name. Everything's just Liberty Simons. That's sort of just everything is under the same name, same place. I always say if you like European League stuff, that's mainly my area. Obviously WSL stuff as well, but big on European League. So if you want to learn more, follow me. If you already like it and just want more, follow me as well. But yeah, just Liberty Simons.
No, absolutely. Make sure you go and follow Liberty on all socials there as well, because I said it's a good person to follow. That's for sure. Like I said, if you like European leagues and just general football talk, on socials as well. And I'm sure you'll be seeing more of Liberty on the Women's Football channel as well that we've got over there, because you've been a fairly regular contributor on that channel as well. You've been on there quite a few times. So I'm sure we'll see you back on there very soon. Make sure you're liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. As I said, all of our socials are allforunitedwfc, so drop us a follow on all of those. Have a good weekend all. Should see you guys on Monday at the usual time. See you later.